Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Jag here. In today's class, we're going to continue with our Math 10-11 content on completing the square. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so here we are. So I just put down Math 10-11 completing the square. So again, the concept is first introduced in grade 10. However, in grade 11, the whole unit on quadratics is repeated again. Okay, so let's get started. This is our equation here. So it's y equals x squared plus 12x plus 30. So what I did is just put brackets around the first two terms here. And what you're going to do is take the complete square of whatever number you see in front of the x, okay? However, the first thing you want to do is make sure that there is no number in front of the x squared here, okay? It should just be a 1. And now we're going to take our perfect square. So I'm going to do 12 divided by 2. Okay, which is equal to 6. And again, don't worry about this sign that's in front here, okay? Even if it was x squared minus 12x, I'm still just going to do 12 divided by 6. All right, so, and there's a reason for that. So let's put our equal sign. And inside the brackets, we're going to keep this the same. So x squared plus 12x, okay? And then I'm going to add and subtract the perfect square, which is 6. Okay, so we're going to do plus 6 squared minus 6 squared, close the brackets, and I see that the plus 30 is still on the outside. Okay, does everyone see that? Okay, and as you notice, when I add and subtract the perfect square, I'm not actually even changing the expression. Okay, this is the exact same expression. Okay, so let's open it up. So x squared plus 12x, I'm doing 6 squared, so 6 times 6, which is 36, plus 36 minus 36, we're closing the brackets, and then plus 30. Okay, everyone's good so far? And in the next step here, we're going to take the negative perfect square outside, which is the 36. So again, I'm writing out all the steps here. So x squared plus 12x plus 36, close the bracket. When you get really good at it, you can skip some of the steps here, okay? So I'm taking negative 36 outside plus 30. Everyone see that? Okay, and again, remember, so some of you might be asking, this is negative 6 squared, and that should make it positive 36? No, okay, so it's not negative 6 whole squared. So if you look closely here, the 6 is squared, and the negative sign is actually on the outside. So the second term is actually always going to be a negative answer, okay? And lastly, what we're going to do is just like factor what's on the inside here. And I actually don't need to factor it, okay? I notice that this is a perfect square. You look at this sign, the first sign here is positive. So it's going to be x plus my perfect square here, which is 6. You're going to whole square it because it's basically x plus 6 times x plus 6. Okay, and then you're going to do negative 36 plus 30, which is equal to negative 6. Everyone see this? So the completing the square method is actually used, okay, when I'm changing here my quadratic from the standard form into the vertex form. Okay, everyone see that? This is the vertex form here. If you want to just write out the vertex. Okay, I'm going to change the sign on the inside. You see how it's x plus 6? It becomes negative 6. And then whatever is on the outside here, which is also negative 6. So note down, I'm only changing the sign of whatever is inside the brackets. And whatever is outside the brackets, you could keep that the same. All right? Are there any questions there? Okay, that looks good. Okay, so let's go to the next example. So let's try one here. And I'm going to this time put a number in front of the x squared. So let's try this. Negative 7x squared plus 14x minus 3. So this is how the question will be given to you, okay? And I always put brackets around the first two terms, okay? So I don't get confused here. So before we start, like I said, there can't be anything in front of the x squared. I'm going to take out the negative 7, okay? Inside the brackets, I'm left with x squared. I have to do 14 divided by negative 7, so negative 2x. And then close the bracket, minus 3. Okay, so the only thing we did in that first step is take the negative 7 outside the brackets. okay? And in the next step, I want to do the perfect square, okay? So sometimes students get confused and they do the perfect square of 14. That's wrong, okay? Take that -7 outside. I'm doing the perfect square of 2. So this is a good example. You notice how it's x squared minus 2x, okay? But when you do the perfect square, I said it doesn't matter what the sign is, okay? You're just taking this number, which is 2. I'm actually always dividing it by 2, okay? So my perfect square is 1. So I'm going to do -7, okay? And we're going to do x squared minus 2x. And then I'm going to just add and subtract this perfect square, okay? So it's going to be plus 1 squared minus 1 squared. We're closing the brackets and keep the -3 outside, okay? So this is what we have so far, okay? And again, you can notice I'm just doing some extra steps here, okay, just so everyone can follow along. And again, just skip some steps after you're really good at it. Okay, so 1 squared is just 1. And I'm writing it out just so we can see. So plus 1 minus 1, and then -3 outside, just so we can see the signs here, okay? So you notice just like in this first example, I want to take this negative perfect square outside of the brackets. But remember, outside the brackets, it's not going to just equal to -1. Before I take it out, I have to do -1 times -7, okay? Because the whole bracket is attached to this -7. So it becomes x squared minus 2x plus 1, okay? So we're doing -1 times -7, so positive 7 minus 3. Okay, so this is the only tricky part here. Don't forget to multiply, okay, by that number that's found outside the brackets. All right, so what we're left with here looks like -7. And maybe let's do one step here, okay? I'll leave what's inside the brackets. And outside here, we're just doing 7 minus 3, which is positive 4. Okay, and then lastly, what I want to do, okay, is basically just factor what's on the inside bracket here. Okay, but again, we're not factoring it. Okay, this is a good example. I'll write it 2 times here, okay? I notice that the first sign here is negative. Okay, so I'm going to put negative inside the brackets. And then I'm using my perfect square, which is 1. So it's actually like this. I'll write it 2 times. It's basically x minus 1 2 times, okay? If you FOIL this out, okay, I notice that I do get this expression that's on the inside. Okay, you can double check it if you want. But at the end, I want to make sure when I write my final answer, it's written as a whole squared, okay? So y equals -7, x minus 1 whole squared plus 4. Okay, every time you change the standard form into the vertex form, okay, you should write out what the vertex is. So the vertex here again, x minus 1. I'm just going to change the sign to positive 1. Okay, and on the outside, I notice it's positive 4. And we are not changing the sign for that. Okay, does everyone see that? So the vertex is equal to 1 and positive 4. Okay? And that's all you're doing here, okay, for completing the square. There are a lot of questions where it says find the vertex of each parabola. And you're sketching the graph, okay, to actually label the vertex, the axis of symmetry, maybe 2 extra points there. Okay, so let's try it maybe for this question here. Okay, let's try it for maybe this example here. This looks like a good example. Okay, so I'm going to put maybe just like graph it out. Okay, and usually the question in the textbook will just say to sketch out the graph. Okay, so let's try it for this one. It seems like a good example there. Okay, so let's try it on this page. Okay, I'm going to write out the equation one more time. Okay, so this was the first example, okay, that we were doing here. So it was y equals x plus 6 whole squared minus 6, okay? And what we're going to try is the graph. So let's write the vertex out. It's -6 and -6, okay? And so when you graph this out here, what we're going to do is just sketch like a really quick graph. This is a good example, okay? So again, the value for a here is equal to 1. So what I notice here is that there's no stretch or compression factor happening. And this is -6, okay? And -6. This is where my vertex is basically. Okay, we'll make it somewhat accurate here. Okay, and what we're going to use here when we graph it out is going to be our step pattern, okay? So for those of you who don't know what the step pattern is basically this upwards pattern, okay? It goes by odd numbers, so 1, 3, 5, 7, so on and so forth, okay? I don't need all these numbers here. The value for A here is 1, okay? So the step pattern doesn't actually change, okay? However, say if the value of A was 2 here and I saw a 2 in front, I would multiply the step pattern by 2, okay? Which would actually change it very slightly. All right, but in this case, we're keeping the step pattern the same. There's no vertical stretch or compression in this case, okay? This is an upward step pattern, okay? So whenever you go to the side, I go to the side by 1, and then I'm going up by 1. Does everyone see that? On both sides. So I'll be like this, okay? And then say I want to do another step pattern here. I'm going to go to the side once. Okay, so let's make it accurate, okay? To the side once, and I'm going to go up by 3, okay? So 1, 2, 3. And I'm going to be right here, okay? Which is the same thing on this side. My parabola looks something like this, okay? We're just going to connect these dots together to make our parabola and a curve like that. This is what the parabola looks like. And again, what the question is saying is to label the vertex, okay? So let's label the vertex on here. My vertex is at -6 and -6, okay? And then it says to also label the axis of symmetry, okay? So maybe let's write down our axis, okay, of symmetry. And what the axis of symmetry is just the x point of the vertex. You see how I'm -6 here? X equals -6. Also, don't just write -6. It has to be an equation. A lot of teachers will take off a mark if you don't write x equals -6. Okay, how I show the axis of symmetry is just going to be this like dotted line. Okay, and it is actually, I'll just put that longer. It's going through basically the center of the parabola, as you can see. It goes through the vertex. And just use a dotted line to show the axis of symmetry. Okay, I have to label maybe 2 more points here. Okay, so let's label these 2 points right here. Okay, so remember we just moved to the side once. And then we went up once because this is an upwards pattern. Okay, so right here I am at, okay, if everyone can see that. Okay, I'm at -5 for the x value, -5 for the y value. Okay, and that's this point right here. If I want to label this point, I notice we moved to the side once, so -7. We moved up once, so this is going to be -5. Okay, everyone's all right? You can label other points as well, okay? One more time, we just moved to the side once, we went up 3. Okay, so this point here is at -4. Okay, remember we were at 5, okay? And we went 1, 2, 3. Okay, and this is -2. Okay, does everyone see that? You notice I can use the mapping notation. You could just do your -5 and do +3, which gives you -2. Okay, so the same thing with this point. I move to the side one more time, right? I move to the left by 1, so -8. -2. Okay, so all these points are basically symmetrical to each other. Does everyone see that? Okay, I didn't have to label all the points, okay? But just in case the question says label 4 other points on the parabola, I noticed that I should be able to do that very easily, okay? By just utilizing the step pattern here, okay? Once again, just make sure you're taking a look at the value of A, which is always found in front, okay, of the brackets here. And if there was a negative sign in front here, the parabola would just be opening downwards. Okay, however, it would be exactly the same as the steps we did here. All right, are there any questions? Okay, so that looks good. And if there are no questions, that does bring this video to an end. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you do like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and I'll see everyone next time. Thanks, bye.